Tonight, we take a critical look at President Buhari's policing plan. How far will the 20% salary review go? How will they be operationalized? And what are the areas we need to pay attention to for an effective police force? The main opposition party, the PDP, is closing its ranks ahead of the big one, the 2023 general election, as members of the BOT meet the new leadership for the first time, where part of their strategy was revealed. Hello and welcome to Politics Today, coming to you live from Channels Television's global headquarters here in Lagos, Nigeria. I'm Kayode Okikelu, and tonight we continue with our countdown. It's now 2 days to go to the deadline for President Muhammadu Buhari to sign or not to sign the electoral bill into law. Well, the National Assembly transmitted it to him on November the 19th, 2021, and the Nigerian Constitution demands that the President sign any bill transmitted to him within 30 days. We're now in the dying minutes, as it were, and the question is, what will the President's decision be? Well, this is a document that is expected to smoothen our election process and also introduce the use of technology for the conduct of elections. More than a year away from the next general election in 2023, and with the President's promise to bequeath to Nigerians an improved electoral process, all eyes are on this one. We have 2 days to find out, but looks like there's a new twist which may or may not affect the signing of the bill or otherwise. And what is that? Well, President Muhammadu Buhari today departed the State House Abuja for Istanbul, Turkey, to attend the 3rd Turkey-Africa Partnership Summit, hosted by President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Well, being the third in its series, the summit is coming 2 months after President Erdogan's 2-day visit to Nigeria in October, during which several agreements in the fields of energy, defense, industry, mining, and hydrocarbons were signed to expand existing bilateral ties. Well, top on the agenda of this summit, a review of the cooperation between African countries and Turkey, while developing guidelines and direction for cooperation for the next 5 years. President Buhari is accompanied on the trip by his wife, Aisha Buhari, the Ministers of Foreign Affairs, Defense, FCT, Health, Agriculture, Industry, Trade and Investment, as well as the National Security Advisor and the Director General of the National Intelligence Agency. Well, the summit begins today and ends on Saturday, while the President is expected back in Abuja on Sunday, December the 19th. But back home, a major controversy has been brewing between two elder statesmen. Well, it actually concerns 3 of them, but only 2 have spoken or at least written about it. And today, leader of Pan-Yoruba Social Political Group, Afenifere, Chief Ayo Adebanjo, has come out to refute the claims made against him in Chief Bisi Akonde's book. Well, it was alleged that Chief Adebanjo had pressured APC chieftain Bola Tinubu to build a house for him in Lekki, where he now lives. But reacting at a press conference held in his Lekki home here in Lagos, Adebanjo denied the claim, stating that he built the house with his resources through the sale of 3 developed properties, a loan from a commercial bank, and the sale of undeveloped landed property which was given to him by the late Chief Obafemi Awolowo. To take a listen.
The Lekki property, the house in my village is Oyogbo, which I built 40 years ago, and 3-bedroom flat in a townhouse at Omorin Street in Lekki are the properties I have in the whole world. I hereby authorize the FCC to verify the above facts. It is alleged that Shibisi Akonde's building at Ilaorogun, which I understand is more than double the expanse of my house in Lekki, and some other properties he has in Lagos and abroad, were financed by Bola Tinubu. His house in Ibadan was also alleged to have been built by the contractor that built the secretariat in Osogbo when he was the governor of Osun State. I hereby challenge Shibisi Akonde to clear the air by disclosing the source of financing these properties as I have done above. Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, the great philanthropist, should also disclose the source of his wealth with which he bankrolled the elections of APC in the Southwest and that of General Muhammadu Buhari and his various properties in Lagos. He should also authorize the FCC to verify the details as I have done above.
So, have we heard the last of this matter from the parties concerned or the parties mentioned? We'll see. Now let's bring you some news from the camp of the main opposition party, the PDP. Earlier today, the Board of Trustees met the new National Working Committee for the very first time and asked the new leadership to be forthright and work solely for the interest of the party if it must lead the PDP to victory in 2023. At the party's headquarters in Abuja, the chairman of the Board of Trustees, Senator Walid Jibril, also asked the party's leadership to pursue reconciliation ahead of the general elections.
You must try to reconcile individuals, states, and national issues. Do not be distracted by the ambition of individual members, but keep party as formidable as possible. Do not side any individuals with self-ambition and try to reduce the state of godfatherism in our party.
But just before we get into the big issue for tonight, we have other political stories for you on our political roundup.
Nigerian war veterans say they might be retired from active service, but definitely not tired of making sacrifices for the nation as they offer services towards tackling security challenges in the country. The head of the Nigerian Legion in Edo State, Assistant Commandant General Ignatius Inabulele, made the offer on behalf of Legionnaires during the Emblem Appeal Fund launch for the 2022 Armed Forces Remembrance Day at the Government House in Benin City, the Edo State capital.
Whereas most of us are statutorily retired, we are not tired.
The House of Representatives is urging the Department of Petroleum Resources to immediately commence a raid on illegal liquefied petroleum gas stations across the country to safeguard lives and property of the people. The lawmakers are concerned that there is an avalanche of illegal marketers and gas outlets of LPG, otherwise known as cooking gas, on the streets, which is in contravention of international health and safety standards. The leader of Islamic movement in Nigeria, Sheikh Ibrahim El-Zakzaky, is denying claims that the federal government spent 3.5 million naira monthly on feeding him and his wife while in the custody of the Department of State Services, DSS. Addressing a news conference in Abuja, Sheikh El-Zakzaky says he was personally responsible for his upkeep while in detention.
We were feeding ourselves. Nobody gave us a bottle of water.
The Imo State Governor Hope Uzodinma has given assent to the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Bill (VAP), a bill aimed at checkmating sexual and gender-based violence in society. Speaking after the signing of the bill into law at the Executive Chambers in Owerri, the Imo State capital, Governor Uzodinma says his administration will continue to support and implement policies and programs that will improve on the human rights of the people.
Now to our big topic. Yesterday, the federal government announced what some might consider as one of the most cherished news of the year, in fact, and it concerns the review and upgrade of the salary of police personnel by 20% to take off from January 2020. And let's just show you a quick breakdown of what this is all about. So, according to the announcement made yesterday after the FEC meeting, the take-home pay will be enhanced through the duty tour allowance to 6% of their new take-home pay and an approval of 1.12 billion naira for payment of outstanding uninsured benefits for the period of 2013 to 2020. FEC also approved the release of 13.1 billion naira for payment of outstanding death benefits of over 5,000 personnel for the uninsured period of 2013 to August 2021 and a tax waiver in the sum of 18.6 billion for junior officers of the police to increase the take-home pay effective from October 2021. So that's a breakdown, but there are questions. How far will this go? How will it be operationalized? And what are the other areas we really need to focus on if we can have that police force that we can beat our chest and say, indeed, this is the best in the world? We're joined on the program this evening to shed more light on this by the Honorable Minister of Police Affairs, Mr. Megari Dingyadi. He joins us live from our Abuja studio. Honorable Minister, thank you for joining us on the program tonight.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here.
So, Honorable Minister, I mean, you made that announcement yesterday, and I imagine a lot of police officers jubilating listening to that. So with this announcement of this salary review and upgrade, should Nigerians begin to expect a new and improved police force in tune with international best standards overall?
I think you are very correct. This is the number one intention of this salary review. Our intention is to ensure that our policemen are happy doing their job at wherever they find themselves, and we want to ensure that the standard of their performance is up to the universal standard that we expect them to perform.
So, just give us a background to this, because I know the journey has been quite a long one. How did we arrive here? I know you referenced the EndSARS protest and some of the demands that were made, but those demands were made last year. So, how did you arrive at this journey, or at this destination, rather?
No, you see, if you recall, during the EndSARS protest, Mr. President had cause to address the nation, where he promised to review the salaries of policemen who are being killed, whose houses and offices were also being burnt. And immediately after that, we followed up this with a letter to the Salaries and Income and Wages Commission to ensure that they bring up the issue to make good the promise that Mr. President made to Nigerians. Having done that, the Revenue Mobilization, the Salaries and Income Wages Commission went into action. A committee was set up, a stakeholders committee, and the discussions continued and consultations continued also until when the committee finally submitted their report, and that report was used to prepare the memo that I took to the council yesterday. I am happy to say that the Federal Executive Council and indeed the chairman of the council, Mr. President, were very happy to receive this memo, and it was overwhelmingly accepted by almost all the members of the Federal Executive Council. So this is the background, and like I said, the intention is to improve the welfare, to motivate policemen to ensure that they perform according to the standard that we are expecting them to perform.
Right. So, still on that, background, you've referenced the process that this went through. And for some people, they might wonder, seeing what came out of that protest, how a lot of young people, in fact, a lot of Nigerians, I should say, were quite vehement about those, demands, the 5-for-5 demands, which involved, setting up panels to look into police brutality, talking about getting justice, for victims of police brutality. In fact, the release of, those who were arrested during the protest. And of course, this talk about welfare and salary was, I think, the fifth on that list, and it included also psychological evaluation. And we saw that the government actually, swung into action regarding the panels. The panels were set up, in fact, just within that period. But this one took over a year. Why did it take that long?
No, you see, we have to see what they were earning. We have to make a lot of computations. Some people have to sit down and prepare reports. And we have to make sure that these reports are very accurate. It is not just about saying we increase your salary by this by certain amount. I was watching your program yesterday when somebody said the salary was increased by 20%. Yes, what was increased by 20% is called a peculiar allowance, and that is 20% of the salary. By implication, we're increasing the salary by 20%. But there are other things like those that you mentioned, the shift duty allowance, the rent subsidy, and the tax waiver. All these things have to be computed based on what has been existing to see what can be given to the policemen in very and most appropriate manner. So it took a lot of time, and the civil servants, the stakeholders, they also have other things to do in their various offices. So sometimes some of these things they take time, but we made sure that this thing has been done within the shortest possible time, and here we are today. It's on the ground today.
For some people, they would say that for something that important, for welfare and security of our policemen, these are the people that we entrust our lives into. They would expect that, the action will be expedited. The same way we saw those panels springing up. It will be expected naturally that the speed will be fast.
No, you see, even Nigerians themselves, nobody talked about it. It was just we who are doing it to ensure that we meet up with the promise made by Mr. President to Nigerians, and in particular to the youth of this country. There's nothing, we did our best to work as fast as we could, and where we are today, the thing has materialized.
Right. So let's talk about the reality of things, because you were trying to talk about the the percentage, 20% of peculiar allowance, duty allowance, rent subsidy, and the tax waivers and the rest. So just paint a picture for us in reality. So let's imagine, a personnel of the police force. I don't know what's the least. I know you've mentioned the figure, but what's the least salary that a policeman is paid in Nigeria?
You see, the memo approved by Council has directed the National Salaries and Income Wages Commission to come up with a template, to come up with a timetable, with a chart that will show all this. And I think they have already prepared one. Very soon that chart will be made public, and we will know what salaries police officers are going to get on top of what they are already having today.
Okay, because it's also important to properly contextualize it. So I'll do the math. For example, if a police officer is earning 20,000 naira, and the report is 20%, does that imply that they will start earning extra 20%, which is 24,000 naira? Is that the plan here?
No. There are other things in addition to this that they are getting. Take, for example, the 6% shift duty allowance. It's 6% of the compost. So if you are adding it up, it should be 26%. But there are also others that we have to compute to make up the actual total of what they are going to get.
Right. So I'll just push further on this one and find out. How did you come to those figures? What were the considerations you made? Because I imagine for me, I would say, why not 30% for the one that was 20%, and maybe 10% for the one that was 6%? Like Oliver Twist asking for more. So what kind of considerations did you put together to come to those percentages?
You see, don't forget, we are considering the issue of revenue. This is all about money. So somebody has to take into consideration what is actually coming out of the revenue that we are generating. And secondly, the police is not only the service that is agitating for more salaries, so we need to also take note of that. There are civil servants, there are other paramilitary services that are also eyeing for additional salary. So all these you have to compare with government revenue and see what you can reasonably, within the limit of what is affordable, try to extend to the police to ensure that at least they have a better take-home pay.
So would you say that this review and increase is enough for now for the average policeman and woman?
I think it's good enough for now. It's good enough for now, and it's a very good start. The police generally are very happy with what they are going to get, And we'll see maybe very soon there is going to be another review for the general civil servants, and some of these increases may affect the police as well.
So when you say this is a good start,
this is
right? When you say this is a good start, what is the target? What is our desire? Where do we hope to get to when it comes to the salary of the personnel of the police force in Nigeria? What's the goal for you?
Well, the goal is very clear. We want to make the police very happy. We want to ensure that we compare what others are getting from other parts of the world, and we will try to see how to improve it in relation to the revenue that is available to government.
So there was a comparison, that was made yesterday between what a police officer earns here in Nigeria and what one in Ghana earns. Is that the goal for you?
No, we want to make sure that the police have a better pay, no doubt about it. And we don't know what the police, how many policemen they have in Ghana. We are working with what we have here in Nigeria. So we have about 350,000 policemen in Nigeria, and we are recruiting 10,000 annually. So we are trying to also ensure that we have more and more policemen to be on our payroll. So that one is also another factor to be taken into consideration. I don't know how many policemen we have in Ghana, and I wouldn't want to compare it to what you have here in Nigeria, but I know our policemen need to have a better pay, and that is why we are taking this measure to ensure that we improve it. And like I said, that is not the end of the story. We are looking forward to seeing a better pay for the police.
I'll be honest with you, Honorable Minister, when that news broke, I was personally excited. I mean, I'm not a policeman. I don't earn police salary, but it made me feel good knowing that at least sometime in future, our policemen would earn better. But you referenced just the number of policemen we have in the country, 350,000. And I mean, if I do a quick math in my head, how much burden this would, be on our spending. Can we afford this as a nation?
Yes, we are already affording it. We are paying salaries as and when due. There is no problem. I remember last month we had a little delay, but that was not to say that there is no money to pay them. We have been paying as and when due.
So I mean, for this increment, I understand the previous ones. I'm talking about the increments, this review and increase. Can we afford it? Because clearly that's going to mean more than 26% according to what you said. So are we able to afford it, and where are we drawing that revenue from? Because if there's anything we've heard from government lately is that we're not doing as well as we ought to in revenue generation.
No, I want to assure you that we can afford it, and that is why it is here, and we are going to ensure that we implement it to the fullest that we can. So there is no fear about implementation. We want to see that by January or February we implement this new package, because another issue is that we have to, some of the issues we are going to pay, we have to allow the Auditor General also to verify them to ensure that the figures are correct before they are paid. Like we are competing so many things, like this issue of outstanding death benefits. We are talking about 13 billion, and we have to verify the figures before we pay. We are also talking about burial expenses for family of the police, which is about 1.2 billion. So we have to verify all these figures. There are also other outstanding uninsured benefits for the police, which is also about 1.2 billion, and we are going to verify them. So that's why I'm thinking of maybe January, February, March, before we start paying some of the things. But the package, it is our intention to ensure that we pay it as early as January, February, by the grace of God.
So what we heard originally was January. So are you saying that it might also be February?
No, you see, I'm just assuming, I'm not saying, but the approval is to take effect from January. But you know, human factor, we are not 100% perfect, and it's all about calculation, about money. And up to now, I've not gotten the circular. So we are about how many days now to January? We have to allow the Revenue and Income Wages Commission to prepare a circular that will ensure that it takes effect from January. But that one, I believe they are going to do it. And so the other processes of IPPS and the rest of them may also take some little time. So I'm just saying this so that the general public will be aware of all these processes. And it may take time, it may hinder the possibility of taking effect in January, but it is our target and our intention, and we are determined to ensure that we implement it in January by the grace of God.
Right, and it's very important that you are making this clarification so people are on the same page with government, they know what to expect. For the circular, which you said that you've not gotten yet, on an average, how long does it take to come up with that circular from the, is it the Auditor General? I mean, you've dealt with them. So on an average, how long should that take? 1 day, 1 week, 2 weeks?
Well, I don't know. I'm not working in that place. I don't know how they operate, but I believe it may be 1 week, 2 weeks.
Okay, so if you say 1 week, 2 weeks, that's nearing the end of this year already, and it's a holiday season, Honorable Minister. You understand how the holidays work. A lot of people close early. So
okay, bring in some of these factors. So I'm happy that we are also taking note of some of these obstacles, and we are approaching the new year. There are so many short breaks, so we can see that. But let me say, we are determined to work towards January 2022.
Well, Minister, there's another hurdle.
Obstacles, in spite of all the short breaks.
Right, we certainly hope so. But let me just bring this other hurdle to your notice, which I'm sure you're aware of. In fact, it was referenced yesterday, and that's the budgeting end, which is actually perhaps the most important area at this point. The Minister of Finance said, well, this was not captured in the original budget, the 2022 appropriation bill that was, presented to the National Assembly. And that for a lot of people was a downer, because let's be honest, even the original one has not been passed. The National Assembly has postponed it. It was meant to be passed this year, but they postponed it till next week. So we don't even have the original one passed into law just yet. We're going to go on break in about 2 minutes, but I want to get your opening response to that one. How long will that process take as well?
No, you see, the Minister of Finance told the truth that it was not in the budget that was submitted to the National Assembly. Don't forget, this budget is still with the National Assembly, and the executive arm of government can, at any time before it is passed, go and do one adjustment, seek for one adjustment or the other. And I think the Minister of Finance is working towards ensuring that something is provided for in the 2022 budget.
Due for a break. We'll still touch on this, budgeting area, because as they say, the devil is in the details. Because policemen heard January, and I'm sure they probably set an alarm on their calendar saying, by January, things are going to change. So we'll take a look at some of these, fine details in a moment, plus the very important aspect of training. Welfare is not just salary, by the way. There are other areas of welfare for the police force. This and more we'll take on in a moment with the Honorable Minister of Police Affairs, Mr. Megari Dingyadi. Please stay with us. So welcome back. We're in the second part of our conversation with the Honorable Minister of Police Affairs, Mr. Megari Dingyadi, who joins us from our Abuja studio. We've been talking about this recent review and upgrade of salary of police personnel in the country. Cheering news, yes, but we've been taking a look at the fine details to ensure that this sails smoothly. Honorable Minister, thank you for your patience. So we're talking about the supplementary budget angle, which is a very important part. So what if this supplementary budget, we've not even seen it yet. We don't know how long it will take to get to the floor of the National Assembly. We don't know how long it will take to deliberate on it. These processes. So what happens if, this goes beyond your January target?
it will not go beyond our January target. We are not talking about supplementary budget. We are talking about getting it under the 2022 budget. That's what I'm saying. And I have told you that I have gotten assurance from the Minister of Finance that it's going to be included in the 2021 budget.
Well,
so the
Minister,
budget is still with the National Assembly.
Exactly. So are you saying that what usually happens with appropriation bills is that, I mean, what is taken there is deliberated upon and it's passed. And if there's another addition, which we saw in this year that we're ending for COVID-19 and the rest.
Are you saying the budget has been passed?
Please go ahead.
I'm saying you are talking that as if the budget has been passed. The budget is not yet passed. They will still have opportunity to see what we can do to include it in the 2021 budget. Sorry, 2022 budget.
Also, you're saying that
we're not talking about supplementary budget now.
Okay, but yesterday
we are talking about including it in the 2022 budget.
Okay, that would be quite interesting because yesterday the minister was quoted to have said that, well, maybe they will look at a supplementary budget because this particular one is nearing passage. So how will that work?
I'm telling you, I am telling you that after that press conference, the Minister of Finance said she is looking into the possibility of getting something into the 2022 budget. And I think she has confirmed to me that this is going to happen. We are going to get it under the 2022 budget.
Oh, right. It's good to get that one from you. Apparently, it happened after that briefing.
Yes.
So that's an update, perhaps, that there will be no need for a supplementary budget to handle this one. So we'll see how that one plays out, definitely. But do you know just how much extra this will add to the 2022 appropriation bill?
Well, we're talking about 50 to 70 billion naira that may be added to it.
Right. So in terms of operationalizing it, there are some who wonder, does this apply to the rank and file of the police or a certain category? Who will benefit from this, just to be clear?
All policemen will benefit from it, from constable to the Inspector General of Police, all of them.
Oh, quite cheery news then. So we've been here before, and this is something I wanted to raise with you, because I recall in November 2018, the president referenced a rank salary structure adjustment, which meant that salaries, allowances, and pension of policemen will be increased. So that was in 2018. Then we had, of course, the pronouncement by the president after EndSARS saying that he had directed the National Salaries, Income and Wages Commission to expedite action on new salary. And this year, the president was in Lagos then, and he said that he had directed the National Salaries and Incomes Wages Commission to carry out an upward review of police salaries. So we had that one in 2018. In fact, that statement was reiterated by the president, the media aide to the president. Then we had the one last year, and then this year. So the one in 2018, let's begin from that. Is that different from this one? And in what way?
The one in 2018 is completely different from what we are having today. What they did in 2018 was to increase steps of salaries of police officers. But what we are doing now is much, much more than that. We are increasing the entire salary package, and I think this is the first time the police are getting this kind of increase in their salaries. I think this administration has done history. Mr. President, unlike any other time, is breaking a record of this kind of significant increase in the salary of policemen.
Okay.
It's not as good as what we are having now.
Right. So earlier on, in fact, in that your announcement yesterday, you referenced the EndSARS agitation, and I mean, it will be victory for EndSARS protesters and activists, seeing that all their demands are being met gradually. And I would like to ask about one of the other demands, which involved psychological evaluation and training of SARS operatives before they can be deployed. And I want to know, since we're talking about those demands, to what extent was that done, and how many of them perhaps passed the evaluation, just to update Nigerians on the work that has been done?
You see, long before the EndSARS protest, the police recruitment has always been done along that line. We try to ensure that we do a lot of checks to ensure that the people who are recruiting are healthy, medically and mentally are capable of serving as policemen. So I think we are just doubling our efforts to ensure that because of the demand, we make sure that we don't make mistakes. But this is the usual process. You must make sure that whoever you are going to recruit as a police personnel passes through these checks to ensure that we have done the right thing. We have no problem with that. It has been the tradition, and we have continued to ensure that that one is complied with.
So this is specifically about men of the disbanded Special Anti-Robbery Squad, SARS. So this was particularly about the SARS operatives. So was this done for those ones in particular, and what was the outcome?
You are talking about SARS?
Yes,
or
because that was the demand that they made at that time. Yes, SARS was disbanded,
yes,
but
yes.
The demand was that there be psychological evaluation on those officers in SARS before they are deployed to perhaps another area. So was that done, and what was the outcome?
I see. Well, what we did in the first place was to ensure that we disband them and we reassign them in places that they can work. If there is anything wrong with them, you would have had something happening, that things that affect this kind of people, but they are doing their job in most of the places they have been assigned. We have no complaint of any former EndSARS police officer performing anything wrongly. And we are monitoring, we are watching their performances, and we are making sure that they are performing to standards. There is no problem whatsoever with these people who have served as SARS officers, and they are doing their jobs in the various states of their postings. And so far so good. We have no any problem with either psychological, mental or physical or anything at all.
Just to be clear, Honorable Minister, before we move on to another point,
yes.
Was that psychological evaluation done at the point, and specifically now, was it done yes or no?
No, you see, if you are talking about taking them to hospitals to evaluate them, we have not done that one. But we know even before the EndSARS protest, most of them were psychologically fit, they were mentally balanced. So it was just people who were talking about, maybe because of their misconduct or because of what they were doing, that people were assuming that they had some mental effects, which we don't think so. And we have been confirmed right because none of them has done anything to date.
Okay, so let's go back to the conversation around welfare at large. So we've talked about salaries, which is a part of it. But we've had reports of policemen having to pay for uniforms, for example. Is that still the case? Is that perhaps captured in this one, or what is being done regarding that?
No, this one has nothing to do with uniforms. We used to supply uniforms with our policemen. And with the coming in of the Police Trust Fund, we will have more money to supply uniforms to our policemen. I want to assure you that we have been supplying uniforms, even though not quite adequate, but with the additional funding from the Police Trust Fund, I think we will be able to supply the needed uniforms that will go around our policemen.
So as it stands right now, because, I mean, dressing is part of welfare, as it were. It's clothing. It's part of psychological.
Very well, yeah, correct. So, very well.
So as it stands right now, we still have policemen that buy their uniforms. Am I right?
Well, some of them want to have maybe 3 sets or 4 sets, at least to be changing from time to time. But we have. I want to assure you, and Nigerians, that we have uniforms that we supply to policemen, but like when you supply 1 or 2 sets to an officer, he would want to buy additional sets, at least for his own convenience. But we are trying to make sure that we supply adequate uniforms to our policemen.
So just to be clear,
our ruling the possibility of buying more or for uniform for the people who would want to have more sets for their use.
So just to be clear, you
but
supply...
we are trying our best to ensure that we supply.
Right, just to be clear, every policeman is supplied at least 1 or 2 sets of uniforms, but they now go out to buy. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying, yes. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so every policeman in Nigeria actually gets a supply of at least 1 or 2 police uniforms?
Yes, that is what should be done. And I think that is what we are doing.
Okay, Honorable Minister, what should be done is different from what is being done. And I see the way you couched that. They're 2 different things entirely.
Yes. No, I think I'm saying the same thing. We're supposed to be supplying 1 or 2 to every policeman, and that is what we are doing.
Okay. So we talked about the clothing, and let's talk about the housing. Because I recall that the IGP, who was represented, by the way, at an event recently, was talking about the deplorable situation of the barracks, saying just about 10% or thereabouts of policemen actually have access to, quality housing under the barracks scheme. So when we talk about welfare in general, yes, we'll talk about the salary, we'll talk about the uniforms, but housing is a big deal. And I've been to police barracks, and what I see is nothing to write home about. What is being done in that area?
You see, you are absolutely correct. The houses of the police in all parts of the country are being seriously dilapidated. We are aware of this. We have gone around, we have seen how bad they are. And our major focus now is to ensure that we improve as many of these houses as we can. And indeed, the federal government has set up a committee, special committee, under the chairmanship of the Minister of Finance, to see how we can provide more houses to the police in this country. And that committee has submitted its report, and I think we are waiting for further action from Mr. President to see how we can move forward. But government is concerned about this situation, and we are taking serious measures to ensure that we provide decent housing to our policemen, because when you don't have a house to stay with you and your family, you cannot perform effectively. So it's very important we try to provide decent housing to our policemen. And we are moving towards this. And I want to assure Nigerians that we are very conscious of this problem, their houses and their offices. So we are putting the 2 together to ensure that we improve the condition of our policemen. We are going to renovate those that we can renovate, and we are going to provide new houses to policemen, to places where we can. And I want to say that we are committed to this, and we are going to do our best as a government to improve the housing position of policemen in the country.
You gave us a time frame, or at least for the implementation of this review of salary, and it's quite good to have a goal, to have a target we're looking at. So in terms of this housing and the barracks for policemen, what's the target? When are we looking at to revamp the barracks for our policemen and women?
You see, right now we are trying to, very soon we'll award some contracts for the renovation of some of the barracks. But for the provision of the new houses, I cannot tell you the timeline now, because we have just submitted the report, and we are going to work with financial institutions to ensure that we provide some of these houses. So yes, because it's not going to be just a one-year affair, it's going to be continuous annually. We cannot provide all the needed houses that we can to the police, but we are going to do them gradually. Like you have seen this one, we want to assure you that this we are also going to achieve by the grace of God.
So let's speak to this one. It's been, a source of conversation in recent times, and this is concerns about entry requirement for personnel of police at the constable level moving up. And there's some people who say maybe we should, revamp that. I think there's meant to be a bill that's meant to look into the Police Service Commission to perhaps increase the entry requirement for our police in Nigeria. Does that bother you as well? I understand for constables, the minimum qualification is secondary school certificate. Does that bother you?
I would say no, because we are not at the moment looking into that. What we know is that the minimum standard of qualification is secondary school certificate, and that is what we are doing. If there is any need to improve and to, don't forget we have a university where we are admitting students. They are also there, and so for now we don't have any plan to improve the qualification or the standard of recruiting constables other than what we have now. We are satisfied so far. We don't have any problem, and we have other courses that are going to go through to improve their educational standing and to, get them to learn the rudiments of policing. So we are satisfied with what we are doing at the moment.
Right. So, Honorable Minister, a lot of Nigerians have cause to interface with your men and women. I mean, from time to time on the road, in different areas, and it's, a lot of people, have issues with the mode of approach or the rules of engagement, as it were. I mean, we saw some of those complaints during the protests and the rest, saying sometimes some of these, personnel of the police go overboard. They're not professional. And yes, we have professional policemen. I should just say that I've had interactions with those ones as well. But for those ones who don't go about their work professionally, in terms of training on rules of engagement, training and retraining, how often do you do that?
We do it very often, and let me say the standard of performance of our policemen in this country is quite reasonable, quite effective, and better than what you are thinking of. If you compare our policemen with other policemen in other parts of the world, you will see that our men will excel much better than many countries. So so far I'm satisfied with the performances. Of course, I don't rule out the possibility of getting one or two performing below standard, but the general standard of policemen in this country, they are professionally excellent, and they are conducted themselves as much as possible fairly well, and we have sent people to other countries of the world to do services, and the reports we are receiving is they are performing very well. It's only when you come here that you hear people saying that our policemen are not professional. I want to say that the standard of policing in this country is very excellent, and we are satisfied with the performance so far.
Okay, just to be clear, Honorable Minister, are you saying that you've not had reports of unprofessional policemen time and again? I mean, these are reports I get from time to time, so I'm quite surprised that you're saying that you are comfortable with the professionalism of your men.
No, I'm not saying some of them are not misconducting themselves. We have instances where reports of misconduct by some of them are received, but I'm talking about general standard. Generally, our policemen are doing well. They are professionals. Of course, I'm aware that we have so many people who are complaining about the conduct of the policemen. And we have always been on the air talking, and we have been training to ensure that these policemen who are misconducting themselves know their responsibilities to the people, and they must try to improve from what they are doing. But by and large, I want to assure you that the standard of policemen in this country is good, and we are satisfied, particularly when we compare with what obtains in other parts of the world.
So on a final note, Honorable Minister, I mean, it's been quite an interesting conversation with you. Just a few days ago, I'd like you to wrap up with this one. An investigative journalist, Fisayo Shoyombo, was detained for hours by the police. And this was over a story he published, an investigative piece about a transit police camp project in 2018 across some states. And he said some of his findings pointed to the fact that, these projects were not quite done to the tune of the amount that was budgeted, over 1 billion naira. Are you aware of this case and what is being done about it?
You are talking about transit police camps, or
yes,
you are talking about police
piece.
community?
Yes, it was an investigative piece done by a journalist, Visaya Shoyombo, who was then invited by the police, and then he was detained for hours, I believe, for questioning. So I'm asking if you're aware of this particular case, the projects that were carried out, and are you investigating it with your good office?
No, let me tell you that I'm not even aware of this, let alone investigating. I'm not aware. I don't know what happened. Maybe that is why they detained him. He was trying to misinform the public. I am not sure because I'm not aware of it. But I will find out. And maybe when we meet next time, I will let you know what we are doing about the case. But
well, it's good to know that
I don't know anything about it. I'm yet to hear the outcome. And when I know, then I will tell you.
Well, it's good to know that you have promised to use your good office to investigate this. I will definitely be expecting to hear from you. Well, it's been a pleasure speaking with you, the Honorable Minister of Police Affairs, Mr. Megari Dinyadi. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us on the program, and we wish you the very best.
It's a pleasure interacting with you. Thank you very much.
So, just before we go on the program tonight, we have something for you. And that's the governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, showing off his dance moves. The award in Gokana local government area, which incidentally is the hometown of his wife. So you could just call that perhaps a thank you dance for his in-laws, maybe. So there you see the soft side of politics. Well, that's the program for today, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Kayode Ikilu. Good night.